Have you ever just been working and working and going and pushing and just trying to get things done and thought to yourself, what's the point? Did I miss the opportunity? Is it all for nothing? And have those feelings ever been amplified with other challenges that are being presented in your life? Just pushing you down into a kind of a deeper hole of second guessing yourself and do I have the right goal? Did I miss the opportunity? Did I screw something up? What's the point? We are going to talk a little bit about that today with my next guest. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome to the Family, Health, and Hustle podcast, where sharing our stories, common experiences, and best practices about balancing family, practicing good health, and reaching your goals can help you feel supported, bring clarity, and guide you to the life you want. So if you're ready to challenge yourself, your health, and the hustle around you, then consider this your community. Now, let's welcome your host, Anthony Hernandez.
Hey, thanks so much for joining me today on the Family Health and Hustle podcast. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, we have a very special guest today. It's a friend of mine from high school who has been really just committed to accomplishing certain goals throughout his life. And I graduated 15, 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago at this point. And so it's been a little while, but he is someone that I've always looked up to because he constantly is pursuing his goal. He's faced quite a bit of challenges throughout that journey. And it's something that maybe he hasn't even realized, but people on the outside like myself have noticed it. And as I've been thinking about discussions to have on the podcast and to bring to the community, he's one person that came to my mind initially back in season 1. And we just couldn't connect. And so this time we finally connected. I'm super excited to have him here to tell about his story, his experience, where he's from, what he's trying to do, some of the challenges he's had, and how we can relate to his story. He's had some rough days, and we all can relate to things he's experienced along his journey. Although we might have different experiences, we can relate to some of the feelings that we get as we are starting from ground zero, trying to pursue something. We all have to start somewhere. And so it's not easy and it can be difficult. And some of these feelings will creep up. And so I'm really looking forward to this conversation with him. So I'm excited to have as my guest, Moises Tovar. Moises describes himself as a Mexican-American actor, born in Mexico and raised in Utah. He says, I've always had a desire to act in film at a very young age. And though I was very shy, I performed in my very first theater production of The Hollow in high school. That's where Moises and I met. Around 2012 is when I decided to fully pursue my career in acting and joined the McCarty Talent Agency. Since then, I've worked on commercials, industrials, and films. So without further ado, Moises Tovar.
Hey, hi. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you.
thanks for being here. I appreciate you.
All right. All right. This is
Yeah,
cool. This is
I'm
cool.
excited to have you on here. When I first started doing the show, I always say we, like as if I got a whole team behind me. I'm like, well, we, all 45 of us. No, it's just me. When I started doing the show, Moises was one of the first people I reached out to see if he could be on here. And the reason is because Moises, like myself, is an artistic creator or aspiring creator, right? Whether
Yeah.
it be with YouTube or acting or even just what he's doing now, which is a lot of behind the scenes stuff with different entertainment industries. Him and I, we're aligned. Myself, you, Stephen Chukai, who we had on another episode, he's
Yeah,
aligned. Yeah.
Chucky.
So
Shout out to
yeah.
Chucky.
So I wanted, but that wasn't the main reason I wanted Moises on. Moises has
Yeah.
a extreme dedication to trying to accomplish the goals in the creative side, right? Some of us, like myself, I'm like, cool, I like to act, I like to do theater, I do all this stuff, and then I just kind of went and was like, all right, I'm gonna get a day job and go work at a bank or something, you know what I mean? And then like 10 years later, I'm like, this sucks, I need to start acting again, right? So when I've talked about that in previous episodes earlier this year, where it was like coming back to the roots, coming back to the things that you're passionate about and that you find joy in, and you should find ways to be able to do that. Anyway, so one of the things I've always envied about you, Moises, is that you are relentless in pursuing those goals. And despite lots of obstacles and potential challenges that have happened, right? So to jump in, I just want to kind of go over your creative background. Tell us a little bit about you and where you get that creative itch. How do you satisfy it? And give us a little brief overview of Moises Tovar.
Yeah, okay, all right. Now, before I get into that, can I make a comment
Yeah,
though? I'm very flattered the way you described me being dedicated and all that. But it's funny though because I don't feel like I was relentless. I think the word I want to use is I think I was just so naive.
really.
That's it's just naive because like that's acting. That's what I wanted to
Mhm.
do, and I wanted to do all that was possible. So it's and the way I went about it, there are ways I wish I would have done it differently. Like I still would pursue acting, but I would have done it less like what's the word? Yeah. So relentless is a nice way to put it. But yeah, I was so naive of just wanting things to work out for me. But
Well,
anyways,
well let me say
just
this. So relentless. I mean, some people think of relentless like a bulldog, just like rah, going after it. But
okay,
I think
okay,
there's this other side of being relentless, which is just being consistent. And that's something
okay,
I think,
fair enough.
and of course, all of our journeys, we're up and down. Some days we're less consistent, some days we're more consistent,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But you're someone that for years, because Moises and I met in high school, for years, it was always something that's been you're passionate about. And every time I talk to you, you're doing something with it. And so for, you know,
Oh,
15, 20 years, whatever it's been, you've just been always doing something. So I think that your consistency too is something that's admirable. So anyway, not to
all right.
flatter
So,
you or anything, but I think you're a cool guy, so you work hard. So
okay,
anyway,
thank you.
give us a little bit about you, man. What tell us a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit, tell the audience a little bit about you.
Let's see. So let's see. Well, to start off, with this interview, all I know is that well, first of all, my family is from Mexico, so we started from humble beginnings. I was 9 months old when my family moved here to the U.S. So I was born in Mexico, but I was raised in the U.S., mainly in Utah, of course, in the state of Utah, and I don't know where I got the interest of wanting to act. Like I don't like to be too general, but it is hard for me to pinpoint where in my life I said, "Oh, I want to be an actor." It's just something that I just knew I had a, if you will, a natural interest, a natural enjoyment of it. And yeah, and in fact when I was a child, when I was going to elementary school, one of the activities they had us do was write our own stories, write our own books. And I made one which I titled "What Would Happen If I Was a Movie Star." See, and what's so funny is that being a young, a young child, I didn't use the word actor or acting. I always said I want to be a movie star. That was me. I want to be a movie star. I don't know where that came from. And what's so funny is that growing up, I was naturally shy. I was a very, very shy kid. So it's just interesting how that turned out.
Must have outgrown
The
that by the
only
time I met you, because when I met you, you were like you were
oh,
quiet, but man, Moises would get into character like crazy, and just I mean he was the character. So anyway,
I might have approached the whole method acting at the
mhm.
time. So, which later on, if we have time to discuss, I've kind of moved on to other techniques. But yeah, that's everyone's assumption as an actor is like, oh, you have to be the character, right?
Well,
Um,
and I'll even say when we did our first show together in high school, I'm very much, and this drives a lot of people crazy, but I'm very much the type of person where people will say practice how you perform, and I never did that. I always messed around, but I was fortunate enough to perform well, typically, and that may not always be the case, and may not still be the case if I were to go do it again. But I would be my character, and then the minute I walked off the stage, I'd be like, "Hey, yo, what's up?" I would just be,
that is so
yeah.
true. That is
But
so true.
you, my friend, I remember because that show was a British murder mystery, and I'd come up and be like, "Yo, Moises, what's up?" And you'd be like, "Hello, Mister Christo," or whatever. And I was like, "We're not on stage," and he's like, "What are you talking about?" Just it's totally in character. And I was like, all right,
Oh
I
my
get
goodness
you, I
gracious.
get you. So I mean, you're definitely one that I think, which makes you a deeper and better performer. That you could do that. For me, I never could do it. So maybe that explains why I never did,
Yeah.
not successful with that. But
Hmm.
anyway,
Oh, no, no, nonsense, nonsense.
anyway,
Well, that's good. Well, thank you. Sometimes I hear things like that, and I go, really? Was I really like that? It's so weird. I was just so, what's the word?
dedicated.
Oh, like dedicate, just oblivious. Sometimes I just did what I love, what I enjoyed. I think earlier, if you remember when we were first talking, everyone that goes into acting, everyone has their own reasons, and I've heard all sorts of reasons why people do acting. Some people see it as a ways to, what's the word, like, to
Express. Yeah.
express, or express, or to be people that they wish they can be, and those are great. But like, it made me think, like, well, I I like acting because for me it's just a way of play. It's another form of play, and I love to play.
Yeah. That's awesome.
To play pretend, and so yeah. So I think that's why I enjoy acting, because I still have that childlike desire of, like, I just want to play. Let's play pretend. Let's play pirates. Let's play murder mysteries.
Yeah. And this way you don't have to pick
Yeah,
one profession. You could be a firefighter today,
I could.
or a
Yeah.
police officer tomorrow, or a dentist. You
Mhm.
don't have to
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
one. That's funny. That's awesome. So you've always known from a young age that you were, you had a desire to be a movie star, right?
Movie star.
Now, what do you think? Yeah, so I mean, like you said, movie star. Where'd that even come from when you were younger? What was it? Was it, I don't think when we're kids that we think about, oh, the money, we could make all this money, all this stuff. For me, something I identified early was like I just like making people laugh. I like entertaining people. And so I always said same thing. I was like, I want to be a movie star. I want to be an actor because I just enjoyed. Maybe I was an attention seeker or whore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I just loved, I was like, I made someone laugh. I want to do that again, or
Hit 'em
whatever,
again.
and that's why I did that. But, that's where I enjoyed. But for you, what, being that the desire to be a movie star, what was it? Was it the action? Was it the explosion? Was it the women? Was it the money? What was it that drew you to it?
You know, I think not. Okay, now that you're mentioning that, okay, if because I was thinking about, in preparation for the interview, it's like, what drew me, like what brought it, and I think it came about. Okay, maybe this is it. I think it just naturally came about when I would watch movies, as a kid. I think my biggest movies that I would always watch every single time that would annoy my family was Indiana Jones and the Temple of
Oh,
Doom
yes.
specifically. That's my that's
They
my
don't make
favorite
them
one.
like they used to.
No, and I think, see, so Indiana Jones, and there's another one that's it's more of a Mexican cinema. That's from a comedian named Chespirito. You might not have heard him, but he did like El Chavo del Ocho. If you happen to have heard, or if anyone's happened to heard of this, El Chavo del Ocho, El Chapulín Colorado, and other characters. So he was a comedic
Mhm.
actor, I should say. And so, and I would see these shows, and I would copy that. So I would copy that. So in elementary school, they were concerned for me, because everyone's, all these kids would be, I think this is what started it. So all the kids, you just imagine all these kids just paying attention or doing things, and all of a sudden in a distance you see this kid going, because in my
Yeah.
mind I was playing scenes. In my mind I was I'll explain this part, because this was just my weird way of seeing an explosion, and this was my fire. This was the explosion.
Yeah.
So just
For those who can't
so
see,
just
Moises is just throwing his hands up in front of his face.
yeah. Oh, right, right, right. So yeah. So I would, yeah. So just this kid, and just in his own world, and from the movies I've seen, and then during recess, and kids, during recess, I would, play that. Me and my friends. In fact, I'm not sure which grade, but like when Jurassic Park, The Lost World, Jurassic Park came out. Well, all the kids, we would, some of us would be dinosaurs, and some of us would be the people, and yeah, we would be
it,
attacked and all that
it's
stuff.
funny that you
Yeah.
mentioned that. So I didn't do the flame thing, but one thing I did is I loved Star Trek. And in Star Trek, or even Star Wars, like when the ship is attacked, when you're in a fight, the camera in the film shakes, right? Like, oh, everything's shaking. Well, when I was on the playground playing, obviously to mimic that, I would walk sideways and I would just shake my head. I'd be like, so my vision was being
So
shaken.
it would
So
be,
I probably just looked crazy on that part because I'd be like,
oh my goodness.
like
Yeah, yeah,
making
yeah, yeah,
explosion sounds and stuff. And so I'm with you. I think it's funny to see or to even think back as to what we did that to immerse ourselves into that world.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So, and I think, and I don't know, I'm trying to find out or trying to remember, where I made the connection that, okay, what I'm seeing, people do this as a job, as acting. So, and then somewhere there, like, oh, this looks fun. I want to be an actor. Because it looks fun.
mhm.
It looks fun, for an action movie, to jump or whatever, to, as a kid, you always play gun, play guns,
Mhm.
just, cops and robbers, basically, the whole cops and robbers. And then, see, how old was I but this I will say, when DVDs came out and they started adding bonus features, the behind the
Oh yeah.
scenes, that I would say that also solidified what I, from the childhood, my childhood dream, but really solidified of like, that's what I want to do, to see how it's made, to see these actors like, yeah, I want to do that, and that looks fun, and that's the thing that I again, that what drew me to that, it's just it looked fun, and I enjoy fun, and that's what I want to do. I want to play with ideas, play with people, and then on a larger scale, and to be paid for it.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
yeah, that'd be great. That's awesome. Yeah, I used to love watching the BTS footage as well,
Oh yeah,
and that's what
yeah.
made me want to be one of the many things that made me want to do filmmaking, is because I was like, I want to sit behind the camera and be like, action, and watch the
Action.
whole thing go. And anyway, so that's awesome. Well, as I mentioned,
Mhm.
also as I introduced you, and as we started this conversation, you know, when I was talking about being relentless, right? Not necessarily like a bulldog, but more so about consistent and
Just
and always with that goal in mind. And again, there are some days where we do better than others, right? I might always want to go to the gym. There's going to be days where I sleep in, days that I get up early, whatever. And that's the important part, is not giving up, right? It's always just getting back on track and
hmm
continuing the best you can. Now, one of the reasons that you know I wanted you on the show, and that I think that your story is very powerful, is because you've had some challenges during your journey as well that almost derailed it to the point where you were very discouraged and were like, I don't know if this is for me, right? So I'd love to jump down that part of the
right,
conversation,
right.
and maybe you can kind of talk about what I'm alluding to, and just kind of talk about some of those
Mhm.
challenges that you had probably several years ago at this point, but maybe they lasted a few years, I'm not sure. And just talk about how what you had to go through and how that kind of diverted your attention and your focus
Hmm.
for a little while.
Yeah. Um. Whew. Oh yeah. That was quite the journey. To get to the point, first off, I had very supportive parents, which I want to say is it I don't know, if lack of a better word, or a better way to put this, but like, from what I've heard from other stories, of, not all parents are supportive, and
Sure.
so it's a rare. So I think I had the rare blessing to have parents that were very supportive, and so they supported me, so that, yeah, so they supported me because, I served a mission. In California, and when I came back, I wanted to go to originally I wanted to go to BYU to do their film program.
And just to specify for
Um,
the audience, when Moises talks
oh yeah,
about serving a mission, that's for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So he was
oh yeah, oh
a
yes, oh yes,
2-year
right,
volunteer mission in California. So just little context there for those who are listening and aren't familiar with that.
yes, no, yes, yeah. I served a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, for 2 years, and then when I came back, my original plan was to attend the BYU to attend BYU, Brigham Young University, and for their to go into their film studies that they had there. And I was attending Salt Lake Community College, because again, the plan was, do general studies there, get them done, and then transfer. But while attending Salt Lake Community College, I have learned of their film program that they offered, which was very impressive, very professional level. This was before they finished. This was before they finished a new section that they have at the for their their film and TV broadcast building that they have there. So then I changed plans and decided, you know what, I'll just do the film program here, and I'll get the same training. So that's where I was. So after mission, and then going to college. And this was around 2010. And that was the time that my father was diagnosed with gastric cancer. And yeah, that was a very, at the time, I didn't know what to, I I know this is going to sound weird and maybe odd, but I didn't really fully understand the magnitude. Like, okay, you got cancer, because it was not, because before then I've never experienced death in the family that close. I've had family members pass away, but I never knew them, and they were, most of them were from Mexico. So like, yeah, it's sad, but like I never knew them, and so, but this was the first experience that I was going through. So I never understood. I just was not as shocked as you would think. And and honestly, I thought this was something that he'll get better eventually, and like, okay, he's got gastric cancer, and but he should be getting better. It was weird. But anyways, fast forward, and just exactly as the doctor said, 6 months, he did pass away. His passing away was not the hardest thing. Again, it may sound odd. It was not. And I think it's because, well, for one, of my religion. Again, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and so I have comfort to know that, yeah, the life after death, and I know I'll see him and all that, and so I think that's where I got most of my comfort. But what made it hard was the family pressures from my older siblings. I'm the youngest. I'm the youngest in my family, because with him passing away, everyone turned to me. At least it felt, that everyone turned to me, and they drilled into me that I had to man up. I had to be a man. I have to start taking care of my mom. I need to find a job. And the sad thing, I guess and this is weird to say that that's a sad thing, but the sad thing is that their pressure, the pressure they were giving me, I had about 2 months left to finish the film program that I was doing. Just 2 months, and I would have had it done. But I caved in. It was too much. I caved into the pressure, and okay, so like, I had to try to find a job.
And how many siblings do you have, Moises?
I have one older sister and two older brothers.
Gotcha. Which
Yeah, yeah.
and it, their pressure was probably coming from a good place, right? There's
Oh,
worried, right? I'm sure your
mhm.
father was the main breadwinner in the home and so like that. So I'm sure there was a little bit of worry in there. Is like, okay,
Yeah.
we all gotta be performing at this level,
Mhm.
and maybe for them it was like, okay, that falls into these categories, these jobs, or this amount of money or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Would that be accurate?
No, for sure. Oh, for sure. And thank you for that clarification. No, and their concern was legitimate. It made sense. Yeah, I have to, someone has to pay the mortgage. Someone has to make these payments. And that's why earlier I said that, maybe me pursuing this was a bit naive, because because it would make sense. And there's no shame that, what, maybe put this on hold, let's find something. But I really, really wanted to finish this. And here's the funny thing: fast forward a few years ahead, I'll come back. But fast forward a few years, me and my mom were having a conversation, just about the past and my father passing away. And I brought up that, the reason I put off acting and my studies was, because I had to find a job. I had to be the man. I had to take care of you. And what's so funny is my mom looks at me just kind of like, with the expression of like, seriously. And she told me, I never asked you to do that. Is that why you left it? It's like, well, yeah, because everyone was telling me that, I have to get a job. And she goes, no, no, no. I wanted you to do, to pursue what you wanted. I'm good. And she was healthy, thank goodness at the time. It just, but it never, and so, and it turns out that she and it turns out that she would have much rather that I pursue my dreams than to have, what I've done, what I've done of, just putting it off. So so it's just something
It's
interesting.
a great perspective too. I think a lot of parents are probably like that, where it's less important about what you do and more important about, just doing what really fulfills you. But on the flip side, there's probably a lot of parents that could care less about what fulfills you. They're like, "Are you a doctor? Do you make
No,
money? Okay, then you're
yeah,
high
yeah.
in society."
No, and that's what and that's what I meant from earlier, that I said that, that I was blessed, to have been blessed, and to have that supportive families, like even in that in that hard time. So anyways, coming back, rewinding back to, at the time. So so th- that's one, as pressures from a family, older siblings, and then naturally, because my father was a major source of income, then yes, obviously, we couldn't make the mortgage payments. We were getting behind on those, and we've been using, and I know we've been using credit cards to, to even, just to buy groceries and make some payments that we could do with the credit cards, and that, and we started getting into debt with that because we couldn't make the credit card payments. And so, with family pressure, and then with, financially, just we were just becoming unstable. And at the time, I was still trying to pursue acting, but as I was auditioning, I never got callbacks. It just, and that was discouraging, because, like, what's going on. And to add to that, my mom, now she's supportive, but, as a concerned mother, she would notice that I would audition, but I would, but I would not hear back. And, and I remember one time she was telling me, maybe this is something that's not meant for you. You know, it's not working out. Maybe it's just not meant to be. And again, she didn't say it to be negative, but as a mother, or anyone, she was just trying to make sense of why, like, why was I not hearing of anything? But her words, like, maybe it's not meant to be, kind of stuck with me. And I was already discouraged. I was already stressed. And and I and I did enter in a state of depression, at that a state of depression. And with those words, just not meant to be, and then was like, I guess, was like the final thing that just shut me down. And I believed it, and I accepted it. Like, you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. I mean, maybe I have to get and maybe I really just have to focus on work. And it was fun. It was fun while it lasted. I just got to move on, and I accepted it. And so I put off acting in my studies about a year, more or less. And yeah, uh, yeah. So, like, yeah. So I didn't do anything for about a year, other than just, working, at a job. And I think I was working at FedEx at the
I was
time.
going to say during that period of time, because now obviously you still work, but now it's you
Yes,
have a job that's more aligned with the entertainment and creativity side of things, right? But back then
correct.
you were doing FedEx. Didn't you do construction for a little bit? Like you were just kind of
Oh,
doing.
oh yes, yeah, I did, like, I guess, as yeah, I did. So, as far as, like, my list of what jobs that I did, so my first job that I got, when I had to man up, if you will, I actually worked as a customer service representative for DirecTV, and I thought that was fun. Like, oh, DirecTV, that's kind of like
Do we get? Do you
it's
get?
kind of
Did you
what I
get
want to do.
free DirecTV?
If I worked for a certain number of hours, I could get, like, my own, like,
Oh,
set,
okay.
like, the, what do they call the DV, like, yeah,
DVR.
like, you would, yeah, and satellite, like, they would do that.
Wow,
I think it was for free, but you had to work for a certain number of
gotcha.
hours that to get that, and it was gonna be like the basic, like, so we couldn't get, like, like
Like the
the
NFL
different,
network or anything.
the NFL networks, like, just like the basic on that, but it would have been nice, but wasn't for me.
Yeah.
It was so strict. It was way too strict. you had to be there on time. And so like, I couldn't handle that anymore.
Like the most basic rule, like just get here on time, and you're like, that doesn't
Just
work
get,
for me. I can't,
no,
I
no,
can't do it. But
oh
I'm with
no,
you.
no.
I'm with you.
And
Like I like some autonomy. I'm like, I like being able to, show up right at 9 or 9:10 or whatever. Obviously, I'm not 5 hours late, but even in my own business, I would be like, yeah, just get there right around. If you're a few minutes late, like it's not a big deal. But there's some people where it's like, if you're 10 seconds late, like it's over, like you're in trouble, right?
mhm.
And anyway, so I hear you on that one, and it's just funny that you say that.
Yeah, so it was a customer representative, and so when, and then oh man, and so I then after that, I worked as a soup maker for Zupas.
Oh, there you go.
That was a lot of, and actually I enjoyed that. I really, really did. Making all the soups, I was very proud of it. And yeah, so there's something about, I don't know what it was, but like just creating it was really cool. Unfortunately, I was fired from that because I was just too slow. Apparently, I just was making, well, what was supposed to be a part-time job. I ended up being a full-time because I was just too slow making the soups.
Oh,
So I was
gotcha.
supposed I was supposed to get off at 2 p.m. So I get in at 7, get off at 2. Sounds nice. But I could not leave until all the soups that had to be made were done. And I was just too slow. And again, but prior to this, I never really had a quote unquote real job. So I never was used to like, like, hey, you're slow,
Sure.
you gotta pick it up. So and so at first I was very angry when I got fired because like, hey, it's not my fault that, and other thing, there were other factors, but mainly, yeah, I was slow. But now I understand that in the workplace there is, they do expect you to, like, yeah,
Hit
yeah,
deadlines, or
had deadlines and stuff like
even though
that,
you had the
which
best dang soup out there.
they you know what my soups were the best. They had this, they had the consistency that they wanted. Okay, I followed their instructions to the T, because that's what they told me to. All the other people that were quick, that were quick and could do quicker, their soups were awful. Like they would taste good, but they would
They
taste
weren't
good,
made
and
with
people
love. They
in
weren't made with care.
but not made with love. Yes. So yeah. So I have that to be proud of. So
That's awesome. Well, okay, so we've talked about your dad passed away. It created a lot of mental challenges, right? Just the struggle to try to feel like you're meeting the expectations of family members,
expectations, yes,
financial
yes.
expectations, things like that, right? That's extremely
Hmm.
stressful and mentally exhausting. And I think anyone out there, and probably many of our listeners, are going through some of those same things where they want to do one thing, but the bills are stacking up on the other hand. And they're like, how can I do this when I have to pay attention to this and deal with all this stuff going on in my real life, right?
Oh yeah.
It's very
Hmm.
stressful. You felt like for that time that you maybe needed to give up goals, or maybe it wasn't meant for you, right? That's a big key word that you said.
That was,
One
yeah.
thing when we were talking about kind of your story uh, prior to the podcast was that when your mom had mentioned that this wasn't for you, a thought that came in your mind was, has my moment passed? Right? Like maybe back then
That
there
was
was a time where you had a shot and it didn't happen, and now you're just beating against the wall, and it's like, okay, it's just not worth it anymore. My time has passed. So tell me, let's dive a little bit down there. Like, tell me a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people think that, like, especially for those who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s who are listening, there's people out online, influencers, that'll say, hey, if you're 35 and or you're 40 and you haven't accomplished what you want, like, it's over, like, you be done. And that's one of the reasons I started this show, because I heard something like that one time and I said, what? It's not over. Like, life is about pursuing goals. And whether you're 22, 12, or 55 or 60, it doesn't matter. Like, it's about pursuing goals, and you should always have a goal. So
hmm
anyway, so that's one of the main reasons the show started. So let's go down that little kind of down that road there for a minute, and tell me a little bit about what you were thinking when it came to that, about your moment passing.
Yeah, yeah. So that mentality, or that, my moments has passed at the time when I was working. I think I I can't. Yeah. So I think before I really hit that rock bottom moment, like I was trying to find other ways. Like, well, okay, what other job can I do that allows me the flexibility to work, to get money, but I can still do acting. And for a time, my family did try the Bitcoin thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, they tried the Bitcoin. Oh, and even before then, I even did another. I even tried a multi-level marketing thing. It was called Amway, which, by the way, I do like Amway. I do like their products. Just not that I'm sponsored or whatever. Not
No,
that,
no,
not that
no,
I'm
you're
sponsored by them. But
promoting.
anyways, not that I'm promoting, but anyways, so I did a multi-level marketing, and because again, they were always telling you that hey, once you make it big, you can be your own boss, your own time. Like, that's what I need to do my acting. Yes, if I do this, I'll be able to be my own boss, decide my own hours, and get money and do what I love, right? But what it doesn't matter which multi-level marketing people do, there's always this constant theme of like, the time is now, this is the time, the wave, what they use those words, once in a lifetime. And it's like, yes, this is it. I think this is it. I like, and especially many times, like, you knew people, you joined just in the right time when it's about to be big, like, oh, this is perfect, this is it, once in a lifetime. Long story short, things didn't work out. The Bitcoin thing was kind of similar, where this is it. This is gonna be the big thing. This is right now. Buy the Bitcoins now, because if you don't buy them now, I still never understood how that worked. But like okay, let's try it. But it never worked out. So again, pressures, financial. Is it meant to be? Is it not meant to be? So at that time, I was already in that depression. Just and that depression. And when nothing worked out, I think those words of like once in a lifetime, I think I was the one that came to that conclusion of like, you know what, I missed my time. And but one thing I want, sorry, how to put this. So because of that language, once in a lifetime, this is your moment, or you missed it and it didn't work out. That's where I thought like, okay, I must have missed it then. I missed my big moment once in a lifetime. I don't think I'm ever gonna find another one. And then hence then just entered to that state of depression, and like whatever, it was fun while it lasted, kind of a thing. But later on, I do want I do want to say that that's, I'm not sure how else to put this, but that is baloney. The whole idea of like, once in a lifetime, or do it now before it's too late, or like, oh, if you don't do it early, then it's not going to work. That's just baloney. That's a huge fallacy that we've created as a society. Whether it's acting or any type of dreams or careers we want to pursue, they're it's, how to put this. You there your time has not passed. There, yeah.
Well, no, I think you're
I'm
I
not
think
sure
you're
how else.
100% right.
Yeah.
And the thing is like we're bombarded with constant sales and marketing inside that, right? So
Sales.
like the MLM
That.
you're saying, and a big thing in any sales organization, any sales strategy is creating urgency. Like telling people like this
Yes.
is not going to be there tomorrow, right? Like you can go to a website and see
Yeah.
a countdown of a product that's like, oh, this is the promotion. It's only available for 5 more minutes, even though they're running that promotion for the next couple months or whatever. Yeah, I mean, like they're like, here it is, because they're trying to create urgency. And so it's interesting how maybe being bombarded with that type of stuff in real life transitioned over mentally to, oh, okay, maybe yeah, I did. Maybe I missed it, because over here they're telling me like now's the time to do this business or do this or do that, and then you're looking over here going, well, why isn't this working out? Maybe it's because I missed my time. So I think it's easy to make that connection.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yeah. And that's what I explain. And that's what I wanted to explain. I think that's where that thought came, is like, I must have missed my time. And I was never the child actor. If I started earlier, maybe, but it's too late now, kind of thing. Yeah. And so all those thoughts from because of that just seeped in, and yeah, and just yeah.
Yeah, but obviously that didn't stick with you. You got back on the wagon. You started rocking and rolling again, getting involved in multiple things. So how did you now make that transition from a point of depression a lot of stress trying to basically decide between life and the things you want to do, essentially, right? Just the bare minimum and the things you want to do. How did you make that transition? Because now, where are you now? Now you're doing acting, you're doing a bunch of cool stuff. You have a YouTube channel. You're really involved or and trying to be involved in several different areas. How did you get out of that? Right? Because I'm not talking to Moises Tovar, the dental hygienist right now. I'm talking to Moises Tovar. Nothing wrong with dental hygiene or hygienist, but I'm
No,
saying
no,
like
no, no. Yeah.
that's not what you did. You're like, no, you're still a performer, you're still a creator, and you're still going after these goals and dreams. So how did you make that step and change your mindset from negativity to positivity? And how do you keep that mindset?
Oh man. So I will say that it was definitely a process. It was definitely not a one day or overnight thing. And like I mentioned earlier, like I gave up. And I want to make that clear. I honestly did give up on acting with the belief that, it's not meant for me. I missed my time. It was fun, all that stuff. Like I gave up on it. Like I honestly thought that that I was not going to be an actor. I honestly believe that one, and I make that clear. It was not just like, oh, discouragement. It was a major like, oh, that's it. I'm tired, and I was, again, with the pressures and all that. But I was tired. Like, I'm tired. So, and it was about a year. It was a year of just that whole processing of, just, processing the stresses, processing what life was. Because again, prior to getting this job, again, my parents were so supportive. I never really had a quote unquote real job, 9 to 5. I didn't have to. My parents were always about supporting me, that they didn't want me to work so that I can pursue, so I can focus in school and graduate, because they honestly believed that, if I do that, I will have, a better job and better life. So again, so a whole year of just learning about what it is to have a, quote unquote real job, for this, for the sake, anything is a real job, right? But what people always say, real
Nine to
job.
five, yeah, just
Yeah, nine to
yeah.
five, yeah. So, and to really realize, okay, so this is something that we need to do to, so that we can feed ourselves. And then again, that year that, that I didn't do anything, and 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 I still got auditions. I'm with an agency, and I still got auditions, but I just kept passing by, like, you know. And within that year, or close to being almost a year, somewhere, again, I can't pinpoint it, but slowly I've been having the desire just started to come back. Like, not even a desire, just I started to miss, I should say. I started to miss acting. I miss, I miss that feeling of, when I act, and like I wanted to go back to it. It's like, and I just want to. And after that year, and it did help that within that year me and my mom did get in a more stable, more financially stable. We did receive help, from our church, from our ward, from our ward, with helping us become, again, financially stable, to become more self-reliant and all that. We went through the whole process of that. That did help. Yeah. And and so that did help with, just, getting out of that depression, and, not being stressed about, making ends meet. And and again, just that nostalgic feeling of acting. Like, I want to get back into it. I want to pursue it. So it was a whole year. Not, like I keep saying, like, it was a year process to recover from that, and, to be more stable. And once I was financially and mentally stable, like, that feeling came back. Like, okay, let's do this. And I forgot your next question.
No,
Or
that's
what
fine.
was the next question after
So
that?
let me ask you this. Did your goals shift, and did that change your perspective and your attitude a little bit? For me, my goals have constantly shifting and changing in the things I'm going after. And one thing that struck me is one, maybe your mom had said, like, maybe this isn't meant for you. A lot of times people would take that as, and especially in that situation, would be like, it's not meant for me. Like, I should give up. Right. One thing that I've kind of begun to think about recently or in the last year or two is, one, something's not meant for me. Is it that particular way that I'm pursuing not meant for me? Right. So it was like, I want to be an actor, right? And does that mean go and audition and whatever? That could be one way of doing it. Or is it to go do some local theater? Or is it to get involved in some other aspect of the business and then have some opportunity to do a little bit of acting? Is the goal to be a gazillionaire megastar, everyone knows my name? Or is the goal just to do it on the side while I have a full-time job, or maybe just make enough money to support my family while I'm doing it, or whatever, right? So I guess
Mhm.
that's how I look at it. Is, it's not necessarily that it's not meant for you, but is the way you're pursuing
The way,
not ultimately the way that you should do it? And I think a lot of people get stuck pursuing it one way forever, and that's why they get discouraged and they don't adapt, they don't pivot. You don't have to change your goal, but just pivot the way that you pursue your goal. So that being said, that's kind of my mentality on that. When we were talking prior to today, you had mentioned that you've adjusted your goals a little bit, changed them a little bit, maybe changed some of the expectations, or it's not so much about being a movie star as much as about, something else. So I mean, let's dive down that a little bit. So have you kind
Mhm.
of changed those goals? Has that helped with some of that mental stress and struggle as you pursue those goals? Am I making sense?
um yeah, yeah, no, yes, yes. So yes, and I would agree. I would agree to what you said, is that, you know, do I still want to be an actor? Yes, yes, I still want to be an actor. Now, but if you were to ask me, so do you want to go to Hollywood and be a movie star and be rich and stuff? Not really. Like, that's maybe before. Maybe that's what I thought. Being a being a movie star or being an actor is like, oh, I got to go to Hollywood, and I got, and maybe that's what it was years ago. Maybe that's what it was years ago. But with technology, like, as you look at YouTube or even like anything on social media, people are creating their own movies. People, are finding friends or whatever to help, and and it's still good quality stuff. It's no longer from Hollywood. You have all these independent people doing things. So in a sense, yes, my goals did shift. Were like, okay, I don't have to necessarily go to Hollywood. It would be great. Like, don't get me wrong, it would be great. But as far as like working my way to there, there's more ways. And in fact, that's why. And again, the whole idea of like, oh, your time has passed, once in a lifetime, is baloney, because this right now, it's an exciting time to be alive, and to be an actor or whatever anyone wants to pursue, because there are so many ways you can go about it. In fact, too many. So many ways that people are not sure which way to go.
Mhm.
Because like you said, like, you can go this way, you can go that way, you can pursue this way. There's so like, what works, what is it that works best? So as far as like, okay, so how did my goals shift from, so what I want to be is, and this is the word I like to use, I want to be a working actor. So, meaning, like, if I would be, like, my desire for acting would be satisfied if I can at least do play. Like, I miss doing plays, like, on stage. Like, I want to get to the point where I have enough flexibilities that I can actually audition for stage plays here in Utah, and to do that. And I know, especially in Utah, that there's a community of filmmakers and actors that are trying, to attract Hollywood, trying to attract opportunities to do more films in Utah. So there's that for me. Like, I want to be part of that, to so that, if I can just be in someone's independent film, like, that will satisfy my desire,
Mhm.
because I work with people, and if it's a movie that I think it's fun, I think it's creative, very, like, well written, all that, like, that will be great. Would it be great if I can make it to Hollywood and be that level? Yes, I mean, that would be exciting. But but I would find the same satisfaction, if I can achieve being a working actor, here locally, on stage, and just create my own things, and that's why I created my own YouTube, because eventually I want to create my own things. So yeah, so not definite goals, but yeah, like, but that's kind of where I'm now going. Is like, hey, I can do my own thing, fulfill my creative desires. You know, I can, I can do my own, if that makes
Yeah, that
sense.
makes sense. So it's not just acting. You created your own YouTube channel. Tell me a little bit about that. Is that more, are you acting in your own videos? Are you just going around and highlighting other parts of this creative community? How'd that come about? And does that give you the same level of fulfillment as going and being a performer, or, going and being a performer?
So yeah, so the funny thing, I never intended to have a YouTube channel originally, but because I went to Solid Community College to study film production, and when the semester was over, I did not want to forget what I was learning, because I took film production and we learned how to use editing software and all that. And so, like, I thought to myself, okay, so the best way so I don't forget what I'm learning, maybe I'll just do some quick videos and upload them to YouTube just to keep the practice of filming, editing, and yeah, so I don't forget how to edit. So, from what I learned in classes. And so the easiest thing for me was, well, at the time, that's when what used to be known as Salt Lake Comic Con, now it's FanX. Around that time is when that started, having a comic convention. Like, well, I can go and just record some cosplays, and that's how I can something quick and simple. But then after a while, as I attended these comic conventions, I started to enjoy them. I started to be like, I love to see the creativity of people's costumes, or cosplay as they call them, and seeing other highlight videos inspire me to, like, hey, I want to add some background music. I want to see these cool edits. And then all of a sudden, I found myself helping the Utah Asian Festival. I went to one of their festivals. I did like a quick highlight video, and it's very cheesy. And if you look at it now, it's just, just very, very cheesy, but they liked it. And they invited me to be part of their committee because they wanted someone to take photos and record the festival so they can promote it. And that was because I uploaded on YouTube. So then all of a sudden I found myself, recording those festivals. And then over time, over the last few years, I began to see a side of Utah that I've never seen before. There is so much culture here. There is so much culture, just gems here. And so that inspired me to want to do like highlight videos. Besides the Utah Asian Festival, there's other festivals, the Living Traditions. And just recently, one is called the La Guelaguetza, which is something that exists in my mom's culture in Mexico and in the state of Oaxaca. And that's a new thing. So yeah, so I'm inspired to want to capture that and to to highlight that and upload it to my YouTube channel.
That's awesome. So you're just like we were talking about, you're finding joy in the creative side by doing multiple things. And maybe even some of the joy is coming now because you get to highlight other people's cultures and some of the fascinating things about it, right? Which is like probably a whole
Yes,
nother
yes.
level of fulfillment that you would have never even thought of maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right?
No, not really. No, not
So,
really. Yeah.
and I think that's a testament too, as to just trying things, like going and pivoting and trying different things, trying to pursue a goal in different ways because you might find an avenue that you just genuinely enjoy more. And whether it's acting, whether it's anything, for those who are listening, anything you want to pursue, if you're not finding fulfillment or success in one avenue, see if there's a different approach and keep trying, test,
Mhm.
right? And you might find something that will really take you by surprise and you'll enjoy, and that'll be the way that you find fulfillment in accomplishing your goal. Let me ask you this, one of these couple last questions here. Do you still have discouraging days? And if you do, what do you tell yourself to get through them?
Do I have discouraging days? Absolutely. Yes, I still have them, and I do believe that we're always going to have them. It's part of life because every day, all of us, we all have our dreams, we all have our hopes, we all have our desires of what we want in life, and we all have that, and we're all hoping that things will go in a certain way, but they never do. They never do. And
They
they,
never go the
no,
way I
no, no,
want it to go.
yeah, and so yeah, it is part of it, and there is no shame because like who does not like to win,
I like to win.
you know we all like to win. Winning is the best feeling, it's the best feeling, but not we're not always going to win. There's going to be times that we'll lose. We'll be on the losing side because it's just part of life. And I don't have like a specific way or a specific thing I do to not be discouraged. It's more of just like from my from the past experience of what we talked about today. I did write this down because I thought about it, and I like with what I was able to come up with this thought, and hopefully this can be a an answer to your question of like, what do I do to, to overcome that. So what I'm about to share is just thoughts, as thoughts that came to me, and hopefully it helps with overcoming discouragement. But anyways, this so and if I sorry, and if I can kind of change your question just a little bit,
Yeah.
like what did I learn from my experiences, which helps, overcome discouragement. But so what did I learn? And it would be this: life is much kinder than what we make it to be. And time is our best friend because time allows us to heal, to learn, to grow and improve. And it allows us to cherish the precious moments of our lives. Every day is a once in a lifetime to be lived. Do what you have to do, but never feel that you missed your chance. Even if it takes you 100 years to achieve what you want, would it not be worth it?
You should write a book. That was really good. No, I really appreciate you sharing that because, and I love that twist that you had on the question is like, what have you learned that gets you through those discouraging days? Because that's perfect. What you just wrote is like days that I'm discouraged. It's not just about just keep on going, which I do tell myself that at times. But to think about that, what you just said is like, doesn't matter how long it takes. Wouldn't it be worth it? Right. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. And I hope that
Yeah.
those who are listening, I know that those who are listening are going to see value in that because we all have bad days. And you should email me that. Send me that because I'd love to put that in the show notes for anyone to copy and paste. I become a
I
big
would love to.
advocate of like dream boards and like writing down goals and reciting them every day. What's it called when people do that? Like projecting or whatever, trying to bring in the good vibes of the universe. I have multiple boards in my office here with different things on them and stuff. So I would love to post that on the episode show notes if that's okay.
Oh, that's how. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, I'm glad you would like
Yeah,
that.
that's awesome. Well, Moises, I really appreciate you being here, man. Thanks so much for sharing your insight and a little bit of this story and understanding that, again, we all have different levels of challenges. How do we get through them? Because it doesn't matter what challenge we're going through. There's two things to remember. One, it feels unique to us. I think any challenge we do, it feels very unique. We feel alone.
Hmm.
But the whole point of this show existing is to say we're not alone. All of us are facing things. All of us are going after things that seem like they're out of reach. And that's okay as long as we don't stop going after them. And to your point,
Hmm.
it might take us 100 years. I hope it doesn't take some of the things I want to do 100 years, but it could.
But would it not be worth it?
And if it did,
Would it
it would
not
be
be
worth
worth
it.
it though?
100%.
That's yeah, and that's what
Yeah,
matters.
that's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. Let me ask you a couple questions to wrap it up here, man. First of all, I always ask everyone, what's your next big goal? And it doesn't have to be within filmmaking or acting. It could be personal. Maybe there's a special lady on the out there that you're wanting to do a shout out for. Whatever it is, like what's your next big goal that we can share with the audience. And as the audience hopefully follows you online through your different avenues, maybe they could help be that accountability partner to you and be like, hey, how's that going? How's that goal going?
The next big thing. Hmm. I'll admit, I wish I had something more like something specific. But I guess you can say that I even now I'm still in that process. So like that 1 year that I mentioned, that 1 year I've got out of that state of depression, that state of belief that, oh, this is probably not meant for me. But yeah, but I barely got out of that. My next goal is to help people that might be in that state that I was. to identify, find people, whether it's acting or they want to be in, do art, they want to be a doctor, it could be anything, but maybe they are going through a tough moment, whether financially, mentally, or whatever, pressures of family or pressures of life, to reach out to those people and to be that support that I needed in my life. Because other than my mom, I had to go through it on my own. I had no one to really cheer for
Some
me.
people don't even have
So
like their mom, right? They got no
and
one.
no, and yeah, and so that's what I want to do through because I do video, I do photography. So like if someone, for example, someone like me that just needs headshots, I'm like, hey, I do headshots. I can help you with that. Like, hey, if you need something, I can do that. So that's my next goal, is to find people to give and to cheer them on. You have not missed your chance. You still get a chance at this. And to be that supportive friend, that supportive, person that they may not have. I was fortunate, again, I'm fortunate to have a mom, but as mentioned earlier, there's people, and there have been people that had to overcome things on their own, but it shouldn't be that way. So yeah, that would be my next big goal, is find people, support them, whether that's sharing their art, sharing, liking, all that's what I'm saying, is find those people and to be, what, you're doing great, this is awesome, keep it up.
That's awesome.
Just to be that support. That would be my big goal.
That's awesome.
Next big goal is just
That's a great goal. I think that's another thing I think comes with age or growing or maturing and again, trying different ways to accomplish your goals, is there's a tremendous amount of value in just helping other people. Right. And I think sometimes when we're younger, it's all about us. And I'm not everyone, but it's a lot of us get into our own little world and it's just about us and accomplishing things. But there's a tremendous amount of joy of just stepping out of that and helping people accomplish their goals as well. And maybe that becomes one of our goals, like you're saying. Now instead of just accomplishing what you want, now it's like, well, now I want to help other people accomplish things.
yeah.
Right. So that's
No, and you just reminded me, like, especially when things are better, and when I'm being a working actor and I can reel in those big bucks, like the next thing after that is support, but financially, find those like people like you and me, that just want that want a chance to make something, like, hey, you guys, to help, kind of like a Patreon, like, hey, you need something, like, yeah, I like what you have. Here's my support, kind of thing, like financially, to do, and it'd be fun to produce something.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, to that level of support, that'd be awesome.
Moises, you're the man. I don't know if I told you that before, but you're the man. You're the acting man. I appreciate you being on the show. Where can people find you? You mentioned a few different avenues here. You sent me a few links. I'm going to include them in the show notes, but I
Mhm.
wanted to give you a chance to shout out to where people can find you, whether find your content or follow your journey, and just be there to, to cheer you on.
Yeah, as of right now, maybe that's a little side note we could put as far as next goal, is create places where people can find me. So, well, YouTube would definitely be a big thing, because I really want to push now, creating more content. And I forgot to mention, so I have two YouTube channels, so that people can find me. You can look me up at Wannabe Productions. So on there, eventually, that's where I want to create some short films, like 1 minute to 5 minute short films, and eventually I'd like to do like a series. So yeah, there's some few things to look forward to on that one. So you want to be productions. I have another one called Nerdy Kid at Heart. That's the one where I would be uploading highlight videos from conventions and some culture events, because again, it's just to really highlight the diversity here in Utah. So Wannabe Productions and Nerdy Kid at Heart
Awesome.
yeah.
Moises, thanks so much for joining me today, man. I appreciate you. I'm excited to see what you accomplish, man, and excited. Like I said on the phone, and this is very genuine. Like, what I love about you is just that positive attitude. You're probably one of the most positive people I know, and you're just so. When you were like, I was depressed, I was like, what? No, not my Moises. It was great to hear your perspective on your journey and on some of the struggles that you've experienced and how you've overcome them and stepped out of them and how you continue to push forward and accomplish those. So thank you so much for joining the show today. And for those listening at home, please check the show notes or come follow Moises and his journey and see how he continues to push forward and how and when he accomplishes his goals and what those next goals will be as well. So thanks so much for joining the show.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm really happy to be given the chance to share my experience and hopefully I'm not very good with like, giving advice. Like if you were to ask me, well, how did you do it? Like, I don't know, other than just like what I shared. Hopefully it is helpful to someone listening. I do speak to you, and it is my hope that something that I've said inspired you or given you a better idea of what you guys can do to fulfill your guys' goals and dreams.
And
So thanks for that
you
chat.
haven't missed your moment.
You have not. No, you have not. If anything, thank you for that clarification and emphasis. You have not missed your chance. So go for it. It's still there.
Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining in today, because pursuing a balance between family, health, and hustle, it can feel a little wacky sometimes. So we need to learn from each other. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to our next episode. In the meantime, download our free ebook, 6 Secrets for Success, at familyhealthandhustle.com. And remember, we're on this journey together.
Hey, real quick, before you go, I just wanted to jump on here and say thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Really appreciate you being here, and I hope some of the things we talked about help inspire and uplift you in whatever journey you are going through. Now, in order to build this community, I have an ask for you. I don't know what I don't know, and so there are plenty of people out there with great stories, and I need help finding them. So I've added a new link to the website, familyhealthandhustle.com. If you scroll to the very bottom, there is a guest suggestions link. Please, if you have anyone in mind or you know someone personally that would love to share their story, their journey, how they're pursuing goals, how they're balancing life, whether it's health, whether it's a hustle, whether it's just their day job, it doesn't have to be some crazy business idea, or how they're balancing a family or different obstacles in their life, please have them go to familyhealthandhustle.com, scroll to the bottom, and select guest suggestions. Send me their information. I would love to have them on the show. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I'll see you next time.